When faced with an almost unimaginable loss, our next winners resolved to use their experience to help others.
Millie was perfect. Perfect little girl.
She was amazing from the minute she was born.
Millie Thompson was born in January 2012. When she was 9 months old, Mum Joanne went back to work, so she and husband Dan left her in the care of a private nursery in Greater Manchester.
She was dropped off by her dad at nursery that morning. Everything was fine. She was happy as Larry. You know, she'd had a breakfast. She was laughing and smiling.
I got a phone call saying Millie suffering from breathing problems and an ambulance had been called.
While being fed her lunch, Millie had started choking, which led to her developing a rare complication. She was rushed to hospital, but tragically died on the way.
You don't expect to go to work and get a phone call and the next time you see your daughter, she's passed away.
At the inquest, the coroner's verdict was misadventure. Although the nursery had the required amount of paediatric first aiders, some staff were without current certificates. The inquest heard that Millie had developed rare complications, which meant that no first aider could have been expected to save her. But the coroner did recommend that in future, all nursery staff should hold paediatric first aid qualifications.
We decided this was the point to try and change laws.
Joanne and Dan started an online petition calling for a review of the current laws, which led to a question in Parliament.
Obviously, it makes sense for as many people to have that sort of training as possible.
The government announced proposals that from September 2016, new nursery and preschool staff will be legally required to undertake a paediatric first aid qualification.
To get change in the law, it was extremely important.
Jo and Dan and their campaign for Millie's Trust has been a game changer for the sector. You know, parents now ask when they look for a nursery, tell me about your first aid policy.
The charity continues to fund paediatric first aid training courses for everyone.
Anybody who wants to attend these courses, you know, we welcome with open arms, and that's the whole idea of the charity.
Since it was started, it has trained thousands of people in first aid and helped save countless lives.
I went on one of Millie's Trust first aid courses. Jo and Dan saved my daughter's life.
It's an amazing legacy for her to have after her death. She might not have been here that long, but she's made a massive difference.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jo and Dan Thompson. Big breath. Big breath. What you've done is absolutely incredible.
Thank you.
And all of the parents in the room, I mean, we can't imagine what you've been through. So you have our greatest admiration, you really do. And thank you for being so brave to come up on the stage tonight, both of you. What you've done since, and when we just heard from Katie, who said that she'd been on one of your courses, and that her little girl had been choking and she'd saved her life. When you hear stories like that, you must feel very proud of Millie, actually, as well.
We're really proud of Millie when we hear stories like that. We can't do this for Millie, but we can do this for other people's children, and that's what we want to continue in Millie's memory.
Yeah. It's 3 years since Millie died, and you've achieved an awful lot since then. You had a little baby boy earlier this year. Tell us about him.
He's unfortunately not here tonight, but he's been looked after by one of our friends at the hotel. And yeah, Leo is 7 months old and getting bigger and bigger every day.
And will he grow up knowing about his lovely sister?
Most definitely.
Yeah.
He's the first trip on the way home from hospital after him being born was to see Millie. We went to go and see her by the graveside, so yeah, he will always know about Millie, big sister.
That's wonderful. And the government support is important to you, isn't it? So next year, tell us what's going to happen next year.
Next year, following the petition that we've done, means that from September 2016, everybody who does a childcare qualification in England has to have a paediatric qualification before they can actually set foot into a nursery and teach there.
So you haven't celebrated Christmas, have you, for couple or so Christmases. But this year you will?
We will.
With Leah?
Yes.
Yeah, wonderful. We wish you the happiest of times.
Thank you.
This Christmas, because you really do deserve it.
Thank you.
Now, to present the award are two people who, like all of us here, were incredibly moved by your compassion and what you're doing for other people. So please welcome Jeremy Piven and Catherine Kelly.
Thank you.
Joe and Dan, you've affected change, and you've taken a personal tragedy and left a legacy. I'm talking first because Kate has a daughter, and so she's going to hold it together while I speak for a second. And I'm sorry that an American has to give you this award when it should be a British man of greater stature. So I apologize about that, first of all. But also, this entire evening is so inspiring that I'm going to take this and steal it and take it to the States, because we need to do more of this, because it is the most inspiring thing I've ever been around. So thank you guys for letting me be a part of this.
Now I've pulled myself together a bit. Yeah, I mean, I'm just really in awe of both of you, and humbled to be stood here in your presence. And as a mother of a daughter who dropped her daughter off at nursery today, I want to say thank you for looking after my child. And I'm sure every parent in the room wants to say thank you for looking after all our children and the children of the next generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you to Joanne and Catherine, of course, our winners, Joe and Dan Thompson, in Millie's memory.